Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the From Hobby to Full-Time podcast. We are in the midst of a mini-series talking all about mindset moments. So these are designed to be shorter mini episodes where we dive into mindset for the month of May. I didn't necessarily mean for everything to be all of these alliterations, but it happened, it works. So we are rolling with it. If you are tuning in new, I just want to take some time to say thank you. I am so excited that you are here. I have gotten a lot of messages on Instagram that these podcasts have just been hitting home for a lot of people, and that makes me really excited. One of the biggest reasons I do what I do is that I felt like there was a hole in our industry of styling where people talked about business and they talked about styling the way I wanted to talk about it, which was in an open, frank, direct, fun way, and really diving into what it means to be an entrepreneur, the things that you need to really successfully succeed as an entrepreneur and as your own business person. And I'm just honored and blessed that I get to bring these to you and that people listen to this and find value in it. So let's get back to our mindset topic. Last week's episode was really fun to just do and talk about. It's called the mindset battle. I give you 3 analogies on how to prep for this battle, practical things you can do to build your armor, your mindset armor. So today in this mini episode, we are going to talk about the 3 things that can pierce your mindset armor when you are not ready and equipped for them. So let's jump in because this is another good one. So the 3 big things that can pierce our mindset armor are fear, comparison, and opinions. I want to talk about each of these as well as give you a few tactics that you can start to implement to work on guarding against these things and to patch up your armor should something slide in, because it very well might. If you are especially new to this whole idea of mindset work, it can take time and it can take a lot of resources. So this is a little mini shortcut to help get you there. So let's talk number 1 about fear. Fear is probably the biggest arrow that can pierce your armor because it comes disguised in so many different ways. You've got the fear of failure, fear of not having enough money, the fear of not doing a good job, the fear of being judged, the fear of being abandoned and all your followers and clients leaving you. And you also have the fear of success. So you can have so many fears that they can tend to bombard you from all areas. And our brains are really good at figuring out what is our very specific fear and hammering that home to us, especially in times of distress. Fear also has its place, right? Fear is a helpful thing that our body does. It protects us from dangerous situations. It alerts us to potentially dangerous situations so we can course correct or so we can do something to protect ourselves. This was very true for our ancestors who lived in almost constant life and death situations, right? Being chased by bears and whatever, tigers, I don't know. But that's not really the same case for us today in 2020 and beyond. Our brains are working on an outdated operating system. The same fears do not apply, but we get that same response in our bodies to things that are not going to have deadly consequences, but we react to them like they would, or like they do have those consequences. And that often prevents us from doing anything, doing a lot of things. This modification process, right? So if our brains are on an outdated operating system, we need to modify that system. That system is through the mindset prep, preparing ourselves for the mindset battle. And this process relies on repetition. Your brain needs to have almost constant repetition of affirmations, gratitude, positive thinking, you telling your brain that you are safe before it starts to get the hint and starts to produce those thoughts on its own. So until your brain can get to that state, you are going to have to take control of the brain and say, you know what? Thank you for allowing me to feel this feeling of fear of not wanting to show up live on Insta stories because I have a fear of people judging me. I have a fear of it being awkward. I have a fear of stumbling over my words. Thank you for giving me that fear. However, I am perfectly safe showing up this way because nothing's going to happen to me. I may very well stumble over my words, and that's fine. I think I've stumbled over words maybe like 5 times already in this one podcast episode. That's okay. Nothing's actually going to happen to me. Sure, somebody may laugh or think I don't know how to talk or think whatever, but that has no bearing on me as a person. I'm still safe. That is the repetition that our brain needs for us to move out of that place of fear. That is why I believe that we need to build up this mindset armor so that when the fear arrow or the fear bullet comes in, because it will come in minute by minute, hourly, daily, weekly, yearly, until we have done enough repetition and work. But by doing these things, admitting them, we can start to patch up those fear bullets or holes in our armor. The second one I want to talk about is comparison. So no doubt you've heard the phrase, comparison is the thief of joy. But I believe that it steals more than joy from us. I believe the comparison arrow punctures our armor mindset, and it starts to bleed out creativity, confidence, and our very own trust in our intuition. When you can start to compare yourself to other people, whether this is a person in your life or someone you see on social media or another stylist that maybe you follow and they just look like they are killing it. When you start to do that, the things that you do, the things you've created, pale. They don't look so good. They look janky. They look unprofessional. They look like you don't have it all together. It looks like you will never get there. It looks like you won't be able to make the progress or scale the business or make the money that you want to make because you're so busy comparing yourself to other people. When you start to do that, you stop relying on your own intuition about what you should be doing, about the products or services that you want to create, about the process that works well for you and your clients, about the marketing, about how you do your website and your photos and your social media. And then it starts to drain out your creativity. When you're constantly looking at what everybody else is doing, you forget that you have amazing ideas inside of you and you just start cranking out content that looks like everybody else's. And then there's none of you left in there. So comparison is a really dangerous mindset arrow that can really get in and it can dig deep. I think fear is so subconscious. Comparison is a little more on the surface, but it also taps into fear. So we want to do everything we can to get out of the comparison mind trap. Mind trap, is that what I want to say? Whatever. Get out of comparing yourself to other people, pulling back in, relying on your own intuition, relying on your own creativity, and building up your own confidence. Whatever you need to do to not compare, you need to do. For me personally, that is less time spent scrolling on Instagram. I love Instagram. I love posting. I love connecting. I love commenting. I do not love comparing. And when I am on Instagram, that's the main arrow. And that is the way that arrow gets to me is through social media. So I try to limit that. I'm not always great at it. Some days I'm better than others. But I remind myself, hey, when you're just scrolling, chances are you might come across something that's going to trigger that in you. It's better for you to not scroll. And I try to do that. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about number 3. Number 3 is opinions. Opinions are another arrow that are going to pierce your mindset armor. This one's a big one. So you may be thinking, that's not me. I don't care what other people think. I'm my own person. I march to the beat of my own drummer. I'm my own woman. I'm my own guy. I do what I want, and I don't care what other people think. I thought that too, until I experienced some things in my life where people didn't agree with me, or I wasn't sure how people were going to react to certain decisions that I had to make, or what I was doing with my life, or anything like that. And then I realized that, holy crap, I think I'm a people pleaser, and I think I really care about what other people think about me. Not everybody, right? There are some cases where other people's opinions can be very important and helpful and safe for you. But more often than not, anyone else's opinions are not going to change what you yourself know to be true. We can outsource our opinions or our decision making to other people's opinions all day long, and you will get hundreds and thousands of different responses and opinions about what you should do or what you're doing or anything else that you're putting out there in the world. So even if you think that other people's opinions don't matter to you, they probably don't matter to you in an area where you feel confident in. I learned this from my friend Amanda when I was watching her stories. Where people's opinions may really trigger you and get under your skin is going to be in an area that you are not confident in, or an area where you have some unresolved issues within your own self, or an area where you feel wobbly and unsure in. That's when other people's opinions are going to pierce your armor. They're going to get under your skin. They're going to make you doubt yourself. They're going to harm your creativity. They're going to take you out of doing what you know is true and living out loud. So those are the three main arrows, if you will, that I believe will pierce your mindset armor quickly. They are fear, comparison, and opinions. Now, I don't want to leave you feeling any doom and gloom in these, but I do want you to put a pin in them so that when they come up for you, you can start to evaluate them so that you can ask yourself, where does fear pop up for me? It could be around money and your bank account. It could be around someone leaving you or abandonment. It could be around not living up to somebody's definition of success. Those could all be fears that prompt you. So identify where that's coming up for you and what's happening. When does comparison happen? When do you find yourself thinking less of you in the work you're putting out when you're doing something or coming across somebody? What opinions ruffle your feathers? Which opinions matter? Where can you dig deeper? Asking yourself a few simple questions can help you start to recognize these patterns and shift them. And you will have to recognize and shift again and again. Your brain needs the repetition. Your brain needs this reassurance to know that it's safe. So do not get discouraged when you think you've got this fear thing on lock. You are a fearless, badass MFer, right? You got this. You have goals, you have visions, and then fear comes creeping back in and you doubt everything. I don't know that there's any person who has ever truly conquered all of these things, but there are people who can provide resources or who have really dived in deep to help provide support around these areas. One resource I want to leave you with is an amazing exercise you can do. This is called The Work, and it is by Byron Katie. Her books and processes have been life-changing for me. If I had to boil it down to one sentence, I would say that her work revolves around questioning your thoughts. It's as simple as that. Our brains bombard us with thoughts every single day, and probably 95% of them are not true. So this is where the work comes in. I will link her website in the show notes because I want you to go to her website. I want you to download her worksheet, and I want you to work through these questions whenever anything comes up for you. I do this all of the time. So the 4 questions are to ask yourself, is this true? Yes or no? Can I know absolutely that this is true? Yes or no? How do I react? What happens when I believe this thought? And finally, who would I be without that thought? So I want to give you an example. Say that a thought running around in my head is that I am not good enough to be a personal stylist. There are other personal stylists out there. They've been doing this way better than me. They have processes. They have so many clients. They have a team. They are just killing it. So I am just not good enough to be a personal stylist. Question, is this true? No, that's not true. Or you could start out and say, yes, this is true. I believe that I'm not good enough to be a personal stylist. And then you can ask the second question, can I know absolutely that this is true? Well, no, I can't know absolutely that this is true because I'm in programs, I'm in the Founders Club, I'm going through modules, I'm doing things, I'm growing. So I guess the thought, I've had a few clients, I've worked with my friends and family, they've really liked what I've been doing. So I guess I am good enough. So that thought is true, that I'm good enough. So the third question is, how do you react? What happens when you believe the thought that you're not good enough? I feel really crappy. My chest constricts. I get sad. I feel like I'll never be able to do what I want. My dreams come crashing down. I feel like I might as well give up. It's all very low vibe. I don't like the feelings I feel when I think that thought. So the last question is, who would you be without that thought? So if the thought is that I'm not good enough and I got rid of that thought or switched it to I am good enough, I would be an awesome stylist. I would be confident in what I'm doing. I would continue to put one foot in front of the other. I would pivot and tweak and ask questions. I would experiment with things. I would put my whole self into everything that I do and make it as best as I can make it at any given point and always work on continuing. It would be really fun. It'd be awesome. I'd be happy. So I hope you can see a little bit of the difference in even just like the voice, the language, the body, the tone, the feelings when you compare the old thought to the new thought. You can do this with anything, with any fear that comes up, any obstacle or situation that you're struggling from. And I really encourage you to do that. If something comes up for you this week, whether it's fear, comparison, or opinions, go through these questions, write them down in your journal, answer them, and then tag me on social media if you have a revelation or if you have an insight that you'd like to share. Somehow that this work helped you to be a better person, right? This isn't necessarily about any industry. I think mindset can be across industry. So this is about you being the best version of yourself, the most healthiest, I don't think that's grammatically correct, the healthiest version of yourself so that you can just show up and be amazing and be powerful like you know you're meant to be. So thank you so much. This is your assignment. You can read more on the blog. You can interact with us on the Personal Stylist Network on Instagram. I personally am over at Chic Stripes. So thank you again for tuning in. I will see you next week with another mindset moment. Thanks.